Hello, and welcome to Tripper's Psyche. Today's video is about HPPD, Hallucinogen Persisting Perception Disorder. This is a condition where visual effects from a psychedelic don't go away after the trip ends. Some people describe it like being in a mild trip forever. Now, if you've ever wondered what HPPD actually feels like when it's intense, listen closely. Let me start by saying I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic in recovery. I haven't had a drink or used any illicit drugs in about 8 months. My case is extremely unusual, and I've confused several top psychiatrists and neurologists as to why my episodes started and what made them worse. I could go on forever about different theories, but in short, this came from an extensive history of using research chemicals, including IV hallucinogens, combined with psychiatric medications and over-the-counter meds I was taking a few months ago. That combination triggered a series of massive flashbacks that never really went away. HPPD differs from standard flashbacks because of its permanence. There's almost no real medical research on it, and it was incredibly frustrating trying to get doctors to listen to me, let alone believe what I was saying. Over the past 4 months, I've been to several emergency rooms and spent 11 days in an inpatient psychiatric hospital. That experience messed me up very bad. After being discharged, I was found unconscious and taken back to the ER. I then spent 4 more days in a medical hospital. At one point, doctors didn't even know if I would ever regain normal brain function. The list of insane things that happened to me goes on. In the end, every medication they gave me had the opposite effect and made the hallucinations worse. The combination of meds they put me on in the psych ward nearly killed me. I'm now off almost all of my medications and fully functional. I still see trails, constant mild fractal-like visuals, movement in surfaces and patterns, and colors that constantly shift in hue. I've learned to cope naturally and can keep things under control using relaxation and meditative techniques. I've learned and grown a lot through this experience. I know some people will dismiss this part as crazy, but years ago, when I was using a lot of phenethylamines and tryptamines, I thought I had found God, then later dismissed it as fake because I was high. I remained a staunch atheist until this experience. Since then, I've had a profound spiritual awakening and genuinely felt the presence of a higher organizational power in my life. Before I start, keep in mind that I am not a doctor, just a regular guy sharing my subjective experience. Take this with a grain of salt. The story also touches on self-harm topics. I'm writing this for anyone new to HPPD or currently in the same place I once was. How I got HPPD. I got HPPD after taking 3 3-gram doses of mushrooms within a single week. The second time, I was hammered drunk. And yes, I know how stupid that was. When it started. A day after developing HPPD, I had my first mental breakdown and was checked into the hospital. What I experienced felt like a full-on trip. Visuals, distorted feelings, everything. Even though the last time I tripped was 2 weeks earlier, it felt like being strapped to a roller coaster that I couldn't get off. Tripping can be fun when you choose it and when it only lasts a few hours. But this one didn't stop. How bad it got. For the first 13 months, I felt fragile beyond words. One more bad day and I might have ended it. I was drowning. I racked up $60,000 in medical bills. 2 MRIs, multiple CT scans, and countless tests. I saw psychiatrists and neurologists, and they found nothing. That was one of the hardest parts. I couldn't work or drive for the first 3 months. When I finally started driving again, it felt like relearning everything from scratch while completely messed up. I told myself that if things didn't improve after 1 year, I was done. I didn't plan to tell anyone, I just planned to do it. The person I used to be was gone. All I had left were memories of who I used to be. I'd count how many days had passed since this started. I'd ask people how long it took them to get better. I'd daydream for hours about my old life. Sometimes I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming, or if the people around me were even real. The only thing I looked forward to was sleep. List of my symptoms. Some of these are still present after 3 years. Insane mood swings, severe anxiety, deep despair, extreme fatigue, blurred vision, HD-like vision, hard to explain, cloudy-headed feeling, feeling drunk or high 24/7, visual snow, constantly questioning reality, headaches, poor memory, vision zooming in and out. Recovery and where I am now. Over time, I learned that HPPD has a massive spectrum. No two cases are the same. For some people, it barely affects daily life, but for me, it consumed every single waking hour. After 3 years, I'd say I've recovered about 80%. For me, what everyone says turned out to be true. Time and sobriety were the biggest factors. I drink caffeine maybe once a month now. Honestly, I'd recommend cutting that out too. Prozac made some symptoms worse, but I also believe it kept me alive during the worst parts. To anyone new to this, you might never fully return to who you were before, and if you're already noticing symptoms and wondering whether you should keep tripping, I would hold off. That said, I'm happier than I have ever been. I mostly feel like myself again. Many symptoms faded, and I became desensitized to the rest. Getting HPPD led to an OCD diagnosis that genuinely saved my life. After 3 years, I'm at peace with most of it. I have a lot of empathy for anybody going through the same thing. My DMs are open. This is a burner account because my real-life friends follow my main account. I don't know how long I'll monitor this account, but feel free to reach out if you need someone to talk to. Thank you for reading. If you use psychedelics or think about using them because you want insight or escape, recognize that these aren't always temporary effects, and that mixing substances like weed or alcohol can make the symptoms worse for people who already have them. HPPD isn't well understood yet, and there's no guaranteed medical fix. Fortunately, doctors and communities are learning more every year. Thank you for listening. These stories show how psychedelic experiences can stick with people in ways that most people don't expect. If you want help or feel symptoms like these, reach out to a professional or a trusted person. You do not have to deal with this alone.